Step 4 of making a project plan is all about making it pretty. And you might be thinking that this is a waste of time, and it's certainly not mandatory, but I personally find that when project plans look nice, when they're easy to use, it actually really helps and encourages people to do their tasks. So if you spend 5 to 10 minutes making your project plan a little bit prettier, you actually end up making it a lot more functional and more motivating for yourself and people on your team to actually go and use it. And I personally think that that's definitely worth 5 to 10 minutes. So in this short video, I'm going to show you a couple things that you can do to make it a little prettier and a little bit more functional. By all means, there's a lot of different functionalities that Google Sheets has. Some things I'm sure I don't even know yet. These are just a couple things that I think really do help and the basics of what I would do if I were creating a project plan. So let's go over to our project plan. We've already made it. You should watch step 3 if you haven't. And the first thing that we can just do is maybe fill in the heading with a color. So you would just highlight this and you could go to here, fill color, and I like to make it yellow. This is totally personal preference, but over here you have some ability to change the text color as well as the fill color. The text color would make the actual writing change, whereas the fill color kind of makes the background change. You'll often see that here in the point person and the status column, you have different colors for the different names of the people as well as the different statuses like to do or done or doing. And you could do that manually, like every time, Tanya's name comes up, you could go and fill in pink, but that would take a lot of time. So I will show you how you can do this automatically, and it's called conditional formatting. The first thing you do is highlight the column that you want to format. So we're going to focus on formatting this column, the point person column, where the names are. You would highlight this whole column just by clicking at the top here and go Format, Conditional Formatting. Then over here you get this pop-up and you can choose here where it says format the cells if. So that means if the text, you would choose this, the text is exactly Almira, you can then pick what color it is, and I will pick green. So then you hit done, and now everywhere in this column here in C, you will have green when my name is typed. So Almira, it'll just come up here, delete that, but it won't happen over here because I didn't format that column. And if I switched Tanya's task to Almira over here, then it would show up green again. And so now my name is always associated in this column with green. If we go back and highlight C, we can the column C, we can add new rules. So let's give everyone a color. So format the cells if the text is exactly Tanya. Tanya's favorite color is pink, so we'll do that. And you can just keep hitting add another rule. Megan can be blue. Brianna, and you just keep going and giving everybody a color. And you can get creative with this and give people, their favorite colors. And again, this is one of those things where, again, it doesn't actually change anything, but makes it a lot nicer, in my opinion, to work with. So there we go. Now everybody has a color, and you can easily see if I'm using this, I just have to look, I know my name's green, and I just look for the things that I have to do. It's easier to find my name in all of this. You could also sort by point person. So up here, if you hit this arrow and you sort from A to Z, then it will group all of the tasks for me, and it goes in alphabetical order at the top, etc. Let's go back and sort it by date again, though. So you can also do the exact same process over here in column D, where you can say add another rule, and we format the cells if the text is exactly to do. We want it to be red. Click here, red. Again, this is totally arbitrary. If the text is exactly doing, we want it to be orange or yellow or whatever and then add another rule, and text is exactly done. We want it to be green. So this is like a little bit of the traffic light system where you can motivate yourself to try to turn all those reds into green. So let's say I did make the event page, I would change this to done, and it would go green. Let's say Tanya has already set the objectives of the protest, that's done. Let's say she's in the process of scouting the location, it's doing, and we eventually just want to go through this whole thing and turn them all green. Another thing you can do, which can help with the formatting a little bit, is changing the way the dates are presented to you. Again, like the date is the date, it won't change anything. But if you highlight this column and go format number, here you can find all sorts of stuff. A lot of, people use these for financial spreadsheets, which is not what we're using it for, but down here you have some date and time formats that you can play around with. But if you're like, I want the date to be presented like this, you could just hit that button and they'll all kind of reset to this format. Again, doesn't actually change anything, but if that makes it nicer for you to look at and clearer for you to understand what date has to go first, then by all means do it. You can also change the way things are aligned. For example, over here we could left align it or middle align it or anything like that. And you can also align not just left and middle and right, but also it vertically. Is the text at the top of the cell, the middle of the cell, or the bottom of the cell? If that doesn't really make any sense, I'll just give you an example. Right here you can see the text is at the bottom of the cell, and if I hit this, it would go up into the middle. Again, just an aesthetic thing that doesn't actually change anything functionality-wise, but I like the way it looks. And the reason that you couldn't do that for these is because the text over here has come onto two lines, and so there is actually a middle, versus here it just takes up the entire row. One other thing that I can show you really quickly is how to put a filter on a column. So if you think about a filter, it just means you want to only show a certain rows that meet a certain criteria. So let's go over here and hit C. And if we hit this button, this is like a filter. It kind of looks like a funnel or a filter, which makes sense. So let's create a filter, and we just apply this filter onto your spreadsheet. And you can tell the filter has been applied because it has this little, whatever you call it, symbol up here. So if I click on this, it will show me all the options here. Like, do I want to select all of the values here? We see all the names, or maybe I only want to show my tasks. So if I hit clear and then only select Almira and hit OK, it will only show me my tasks. And here's a fun story about this. I once had this very complicated spreadsheet that I had made, and I opened it and I freaked out completely because I thought half of my spreadsheet was gone. And I was looking over here, I'm like, what happened to row 3 and 4 and 6 and 7? And I was getting really upset with people, like, why did you mess up my spreadsheet? When I didn't realize there was just a filter on here. So if I went back and clicked this and said select all, okay, now all the values are back there, and that won't happen. Or I can even click this and turn off the filter, and it will remove the possibility of even putting a filter on there. So that is some tips for how you can make your project plan prettier. There's a lot of other things that you can do, but that's the basics that I wanted to cover today. And we will move on to step 5, the final step, in the next video.